So, Jen, a lot of senators just not convinced. Was it a mistake not to give them a few days heads up about this transaction?
Well, I guess first I would say that the president and the National Security Council here rely on the advice of the president's military advisors on this kind of action. And, General Dempsey, the chairman of the Joint Chiefs, has spoken very clearly about this. And he said that we saw this as the last best chance to get Sergeant Bergdahl home. And, in terms of Congress, we're trying to balance the desire and need to protect this mission, to keep it safe and secure, with informing our partners in Congress of actions that we are taking. But the truth is that the possibility of this type of swap has been discussed with Congress going back a few years, from 2011. It was also
Jen, but they say they haven't been briefed in a long time.
As our Deputy National Security Advisor, Tony Blinken, briefed the Congress last night, this possibility was discussed again with some of the committees in Congress in January and February of this year, when we saw the proof of life video that the senators were shown last night. When that came to light, it was brought up again with some of the committees in Congress to let them know that development had happened, and to be aware that this possibility was still on the table. So, we have the president, I think, spoke very forcefully and clearly about this today. We have a sacred obligation to protect our soldiers, to bring them home. We saw this as the last best chance to do that with Sergeant Bergdahl, and that is the obligation that we have. The military said it was our last best chance, and we took it, and the president doesn't make any apologies for it.
Jen, as you know, the administration's handling of this has been criticized. I want to read you something that's in the Wall Street Journal today. This is from the editorial board, which says, quote, "We think Sergeant Bergdahl deserves the benefit of the doubt until the facts are all known, but our guess is that Ms. Rice oversold him as a hero," of course on the Sunday shows this past weekend, "because the White House was hoping to turn the swap into a big foreign policy victory. Thus, Mr. Obama hosted the sergeant's parents in the Rose Garden on Saturday in front of the TV cameras while Defense Secretary Chuck Hagel took a victory lap in Afghanistan, and Ms. Rice called it a great day for America." Do you regret at all, Jen, selling this as a foreign policy victory when there are still a lot of unanswered questions about Bowe Bergdahl?
We did not sell it as a foreign policy victory. The President of the United States spoke to the American people to explain to them that the action that he had taken on behalf of Sergeant Bergdahl. The truth is that anyone who has the courage to put on the American uniform, who has the love of country enough to put themselves in battle, deserves to be. We don't ask any questions. That we bring you back. It doesn't matter, as Admiral Kirby said the other day, it doesn't matter if you were pushed, fell, or jumped off a ship. The ship is going to turn around and it's going to come back and get you. We knew that this was going to be a controversial decision. That was why we wanted the president to speak to it. We knew that Congress, based on our past conversations with them, there were going to be people in Congress who were probably going to have concerns about it. We knew that there were people, there was information in the public domain, some people who had been critical of Sergeant Bergdahl, critical, we think, unfairly, and because we don't know exactly what happened. So we knew it was going to be controversial, and that is why you want the President of the United States to speak to the American people and explain to them exactly why he took this action. So it is not something that we expected to be a good news story. It was something that the President, as Commander-in-Chief, was obliged to do, and he explained to the American people why he took those actions.
Jen, let's talk about those 5 released detainees. You have assurances from Qatar that they will protect the U.S.'s national security interest for the next year. Of course, they will stay in Qatar. They won't be allowed to leave. But what happens after that year, Jen? Can you assure the American people that these 5 detainees aren't going to come back and attack the U.S. or its interest? Because it didn't seem as though President Obama was able to do that when he was asked a similar question a few days ago.
The president spoke to this in Warsaw the other day, and as he said there, and as I think the Secretary of Defense also discussed today, that, as you said, they are being monitored in Qatar for this current year. If at the end of that year they leave the United States, the president noted this, we have a mechanism to continue to monitor them. If they return to Afghanistan, combat operations end there at the end of this year.
What are the mechanisms to monitor them, Jen?
Kristen, let me finish. Okay, well, we have tools that are available to us to monitor them. We have tools that are available to us to take action against them should they pose some kind of threat to our defenses. That's what the president said the other day. There's some matters that you can't get into details on, but suffice to say that we have the ability to monitor them, and if there's a problem, the president said that we would take action against them. But I think it's also important to note this war is winding down, and the combat mission ends at the end of this year. This is not a situation where American troops are going to be facing any Afghanis, including the Taliban, on a battlefield next year.
All right, and quickly, Jen, we are running out of time, but I want to ask you about this broader question about Guantanamo Bay. Senator Lindsey Graham has said he's going to move to impeach President Obama should he try to free any more prisoners from Guantanamo Bay without alerting Congress. Your reaction to that, and is that the ultimate goal here, to unilaterally try to close Gitmo?
It's the administration's long-held policy that we should close Gitmo. There is there is a legislation and a law that permits you to do that, and we are following the letter of that law, and that is what we did, including within this particular circumstance. So we'll continue to pursue the closing of Guantanamo. We will do it lawfully and legally, and it's a priority to do so.
So, and your reaction to the fact that you have Lindsey Graham threatening to impeach the president if he continues to act unilaterally?
I'm not going to react to Senator Graham's comments, except to say that this president will continue to, as he always does, act legally and with the good judgment of what's in the best interest of the United States security.
All right. Jen Palmieri, Director for Communications for the White House, really appreciate your time this afternoon.
Thanks, Kristen.